If you go work for a company, you are under their regime. You have to follow their protocols and rules. And Zapier at the time was a remote team. Jason was curious about this. How do you keep your team motivated? How do you keep them on track? And how do you ensure that they're actually doing the work? Take a listen.
How do you know that people are working? How do you
So-
manage that issue?
People leave a digital trail, right, when they work these days, whether it's Slack logs or GitHub commits or, publications on a blog or what
Yep.
have you. There is a digital trail of did you do this thing or not, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really what it comes down to. And in a lot of ways, I think it's more efficient because now you're looking at the byproduct of the work rather than necessarily looking out over the room and seeing people in the chair, which isn't work in and of itself.
Absolutely. It's a lot more pure.
Exactly.
And do you actually do that, or you just spot check it? How does one manage this distributed workforce like this at scale?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to manage 10 people in a chat room, but to manage 36 and then eventually 100, slightly different, right?
Yeah, it is a little different. We have a pretty basic way we do it, which is every week people write what we call a Friday update. And so we have an internal blog. You publish, hey, here's what I took care of this week. Here's what I'm going to tackle next week. And here's some fun stuff I'm doing this weekend or whatever, right?
That's cute.
Yeah, which is nice for remote. But then whoever the team leads are, they can go through, check, make sure that, people on the team are making progress. And not just making progress on the task, but are they making progress in the right direction, right? Do we have one person running this way and one person running that way? Well, if so, maybe we need to reconsider how we operate, right? And so those Friday updates are just a really quick, easy way so everyone knows, like, hey, this is the pulse of Zapier. This is kind of what is moving.
And you put
this
it on an
week.
internal blog. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's all public and transparent on the internal blog, so everyone kind of knows here's what's happening. And you can go read anyone else's if you want, right? So like an engineer can go check out what's happening in marketing, can go check out what's happening.
Zapier's sort of ahead of the curve. I mean, we now think of having an entirely remote team as, just another day doing business in the tech industry. But in 2016, this was well before COVID lockdowns. This was well before, quiet quitting or whatever. Like, this was still an era when most companies were expecting most people to show up to work.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do love that we're still having, again, the same conversations because we're talking about end of week roundups. What are you working on? People taking a look into like the checklist of people's operations. Man, it's almost like technology doesn't change that much. Like this is the funny thing to me. We're still talking about Slack in this conversation 10 years ago and today. We're still talking about remote work then and now. I'm still a big believer in remote work. I know Jason's kind of gone to the other side of things here, but it seems like it didn't hurt Zapier too much to have a mostly remote team on.
No, it really doesn't. And I also thought this is a fascinating look back into history because sort of the idea of self-reporting, like, well, if you're going to work remote, you've got to post multiple times a day, let everybody know what you're doing. You got to be so much extra communicative to make up for the fact that your boss can't just stop by the office and peer over your shoulder and see what you're doing. And this became such a huge discussion during the sort of Doge era when Elon Musk was asking government employees to do this. And a lot of tech leaders were saying, I definitely want to do a start of day, end of week type reporting. We do those at launch. It's a big thing that Jason's a big believer in. And they were already sort of discussing this same conversation back in 2016. I really liked Wade's point that if you really think about it, you can tell who's being productive because everybody leaves a digital trail. That's the phrase.
Absolutely.
Which I love. It's like, even if they're more efficient, you can't tell how much time somebody is spending necessarily remotely, but you can tell they got these 5 big tasks done today. And if you're not looking at work that way, well, maybe you should be.
I mean, there is a performative aspect to sitting in the office and looking very, very busy and very stressed out, arriving early, staying late, but taking a long lunch so you look more productive. I mean, people play these games, right? And I'm not trying to say that every remote worker out there is an absolute saint who should be given a raise and more responsibility, but I do like that Zapier was ahead of the curve here, and I think it's worked out for them pretty well.
I love sending people little gifts, little gestures. And if you're running a business, it's a great way to stay top of mind with your clients, your partners, your customers. So next time you're looking to impress people, consider Goldbelly. I think you've heard of Goldbelly, or where you've been. They deliver America's most delicious, iconic foods nationwide. You've read about these must-try dishes from places all over the country that maybe, you haven't visited, or maybe you grew up there. Here at the office, we were at Stan's Donuts, straight from Chicago, those old-fashioned with the blueberries and the frosting. They got amazing reviews. People in the office went crazy. And just think, what are people going to think when you start sending some Maryland crab cakes or my favorite, Terry Black's barbecue? So next time you're looking to impress, I want you to go to Goldbelly. Red Farm has that Peking duck. Oh, they've got some of those great knishes from the Lower East Side that I'll send to people. Bagels from New York, from my hometown of Brooklyn. You can even get pizza too. We're going to give you 20% off your first Goldbelly order. Oh, Magnolia Bakery. I forgot about that one. That's another one I love. Goldbelly ships America's most delicious, iconic foods nationwide. Get 20% off your first order by using the promo code TWiST at checkout.